Opinion. Welcome to another wonderful edition of Carl's Opinion. Anyway, anybody got an echo coming in here? Anyway, I guess we got an echo going on here.
I can hear about a little bit.
Yeah. All right. Catching this echo. All right. If you guys hear an echo in the on YouTube, let me know. Okay. I think I got it. Okay. All right. Here we go. All right, gentlemen and ladies. Tonight we're going to be discussing what President Trump is saying about Russia matter is over, the hoax is dead, and I'll just run through this story real quick right now. And yeah, I probably should put it up, and then I'll put us in kind of off to the side. We won't be able to hear each other. I'll get done doing the story, then we'll come back and we'll talk about it. How's that sound? All right. Here we go. There we go. All right, and let's go ahead and talk about this story. So, Trump says Russia matter is over, hoax is dead. Okay. West Palm Beach, Florida. This is from the Washington Times. President Trump on Saturday said the Russia probe should be considered dead and buried, venting his frustration with lingering questions about his behavior as he headed into the second full day of his Easter jaunt in Florida. The Russia hoax is dead, Mr. Trump tweeted before departing his Mar-a-Lago state for his golf course across town. House Democrats don't see it that way. They issued a subpoena for a full, unredacted version of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's report, which found the president did not conspire with Russia to subvert the 2016 election. Senator Elizabeth Warren, a presidential hopeful, said the House should begin impeachment proceedings against Trump. And Trump also tweeted about the robust economy Saturday, wants to move on, citing the part of the Mueller report that found no criminal conspiracy. Mr. Mueller left decisions on obstruction to justice to Attorney General William Barr, who said there wasn't enough evidence of a corrupt motive to hide illegal Russian activities to make an obstruction case. The end result of the greatest witch hunt in U.S. political history is no collusion with Russia and no obstruction. Pretty amazing. Excuse me, Mr. Trump wrote. There you go. So let's get back over here. All right, guys. And pull you both off. All right. So pretty much Trump is saying, hey, look, you know, the whole conspiracy thing is over. It's been 2 years. Mueller found no conspiracy with the Russians. He said, I couldn't find enough to indict, but I'm not going to exonerate him. Why he had to say the last part, that's not what a prosecutor does. Because like I said last night, you know, this prosecution team wasn't spending 2 years looking to exonerate President Trump. They were spending 2 years looking to try to hang him with anything they could. And now Trump is saying, hey, look, let's talk about the economy. Let's move on. Let's think about something else. And some of the Democratic candidates are also saying that as well. There's another story here in the Wall Street Journal. And I won't put that on the screen. I'll just kind of read from it. And then this is a story from Virginia. And it says, at Democratic Representative Abigail Spangberger's, whoever that is, town hall Thursday night, Special Counsel Robert Mueller's report on President Trump and his associates didn't come up on the first or even the second question. It wasn't until local resident David Goodall spoke to list his concerns that the issue of possibly trying to remove Mr. Trump from office surfaced. And that was the fourth on his list. I felt that impeachment is in order at this time, said Goodall, a retired federal executive, of course, and political independent. 8 hours after the Mueller report was publicly released, most of Ms. Spangberger's constituents had other concerns on their mind. Of the roughly 15 questions the freshman Democrat fielded from about 150 constituents, more focused on health care or immigration than the nearly 2-year investigation. So, what you got going on here is you have, I mean, the people, the polling during this whole 2 years never showed the people really jumping up and down about this. I mean, while this thing was going on, and you watch MSNBC and CNN, you know, every once in a while they'd mention a poll like that. They bury it like in 50 minutes into the hour. They say, oh, the American people aren't concerned about this. But they stopped the discussion there. They would say, well, gee, why are we covering it so much? You know, it seemed like they kept hoping the more they covered it, sooner or later the American people would really start to care about it. And it turns out, you know, 10 minutes after it's over, they start immediately talking about something else. Healthcare, immigration, and we'll get to those because obviously that's what people are concerned about, like they were in 2018. So we probably need to get to that. But what do you guys think about that? I'll leave it open to the panel to anybody who wants to jump in. as far as how the media was covering it on one hand and how the American people, even liberals probably, were feeling about it on the other. In other words, it wasn't a big deal to the average American.
I have a quick thing to say on it, then I'll let somebody say something more intelligent. But I did notice that, Carl, just yesterday. I think it was a Brian Stelter clip I saw, where what really bothers me about their coverage, well, all of it does, but that it kind of drove home for me yesterday. I really noticed it, is that they presume to speak for the American people. And they say, the people want this. The people are concerned about that. And they use that as justification for what they're going to say next. And now, that guy in particular, but others as well, are veering it into, now we want to know about the taxes. The people want to know. I don't want to know. I don't care. I don't want to know, and I don't care. And you're not speaking for me, and nobody voted to give you the right to speak for the people. So shut up. Okay, that's all I had to say.
No, go ahead.
I agree completely. The Democrats aren't going to let it go. Some of them, but like you said, as far as the media just seems hell-bent on just keeping the story alive no matter what. It's disgraceful. The New York Times saying, coming out right after it came out, basically, if there was no collusion, they come out with articles saying there was obstruction, proven by the amount of redactions and things of this nature. They're just hell-bent on just keeping the narrative alive, regardless of what people think. Like she said, I don't care about his taxes. I don't want to see them. Why do they keep insisting that that's what the American people want? No, we don't.
Yep.
Why don't they ask us? Then you got Mitt Romney. I'm sure y'all heard. I don't know if y'all heard about that, but he's he's out there criticizing Trump, talking about after he read the report, he was sickened by Trump's actions and things of this nature.
Yeah.
Come on, man, give me a break. They just seem hell-bent. The Democrats aren't going to let it go, but especially the mainstream media, they're just ridiculous. So that's all I got to say about it.
Yep.
All right, and Mr. Douchebag said he'll be coming in. Says coming in shortly, and that's a good thing. But yeah, I mean, now the thing to take away from that article also, which is kind of important, is like town halls are good, and is that it shows us what they're concerned about. Like again, in 2018, we missed the whole healthcare debate. We missed that the American people were concerned about that, and that the Democrats were out there taking advantage of it. They're running all kinds of ads. And I'll be honest with you, I kind of missed it too. I really didn't think people really thought much about it, but I thought that things were getting better, but obviously they weren't. So as far as healthcare, we touched on this a little bit. I mean, obviously we're not going to compete with welfare for all, but as far as messaging, has anybody heard any kind of messaging lately from the Republicans on healthcare? We brought up. I think we brought up some good issues the other night on healthcare, as far as some alternative, theories or stuff. But has anybody heard any kind of like bumper sticker slogans? The kind of things that low attention voters, unfortunately, the ones you need, but low attention voters, would actually hear and actually kind of make some sense out of.
No, I haven't heard anything.
No, but I'd be willing to be in the think tank for it. Hands off my health care. How's that? That's short. We can put that on a bumper sticker.
Actually, no, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
I know.
not bad.
I'm good.
Well, I came up.
And I'm humble, damn it.
Yeah. Excellent.
Sorry, I told you I was in a mood tonight.
It's all good, Effie.
Well, as far as like hands off my health care, that kind of does resonate with a lot of people, because I forget the numbers, but something like 60% of the American people get their health care from their employers. Is that true? Has anybody else heard that number? Like 60% of Americans get their health care from their employers, employer-based health care?
I read statistics before, Carl, but I don't remember them. I don't believe them, though. Things keep changing.
Yeah, but it seems like if majority of Americans have health care. And, we could all bitch about our health care and health insurance. I mean, but, if you think it's bad now, like that's saying, look for government-run health care. But I mean, if say, I don't know, 3/5 of the American people are getting health care from the government, that somehow they've managed to convince these people that there's like 40 million people who don't work, who don't want to work, people who came over here illegally, that should be entitled to free health care. It seems like they got that narrative out there somehow. And
I have another one. How's this? Free market health care for all. We just say free market health care for all. And the low information voters will see the word free. Free market health care for all. There you go.
Well, you type up free, give like 4 spaces, instead of like 2.
There you go.
4. So free market health care.
You could keep the font the same, and they'll still see they'll only see the word free and for all. So
that's
free for all.
That's probably true. And then as far as I noticed, immigration.
Sorry, I talked over you earlier. Sorry about that.
Oh, you probably
Not you,
Lee.
I talk about over you all the time. I don't care about that.
Yeah, nobody cares.
Hey, Carl, I'm looking at
Go ahead.
I'm just going to say I'm looking at a couple articles right here, and it's basically saying Donald Trump saying that they are working on a health care plan, that they will be coming out with something soon, and that the Republicans will be the party of health care. And they're both somewhat recent articles.
So is that what he's running on this year? Or in 2020?
That's basically what it's saying, yeah.
Oh, that
Right.
he's going to be running on health care?
He's going to be running on health care, and that he will be shortly bringing out a proposal.
Excellent.
Is what I'm gathering.
Yeah, because he definitely needs to be proactive. Hopefully his people also saw we all saw from 2018 was that healthcare was a big issue. I think I saw Dana Perino was talking about it on the 5, and she was like, we all missed that. The Republicans, we all kind of missed that people were really worried about it. And I guess premiums are still going up. Now, hopefully everybody noticed that you didn't have to pay that little, $600, $800 fee if you didn't have health care, on your taxes this year. Hopefully people noticed that. I'm surprised they haven't pushed that out more front and center. Because that's, for middle-class people making, $35,000, $40,000 a year, that's like $600, $700. That's a lot of money,
Mm-hmm.
That's nothing.
Absolutely.
That's nothing cheap. But I tell you what. I'm going to resend douchebag's link real quick. You guys just carry on. Let me just see if I can see what's going on with douchebag, because I think he's trying to call me.
Yeah, if I may just add on to what you guys are saying about the whole everything with what Mitt Romney was saying and how they're just trying to keep this narrative going. Ultimately, it's because they're trying to rewrite history. If you follow how these people operate, they are always trying to rewrite history. And that's what they're doing right now. They're trying to set it up so when another populist down the road, another person like Trump, who's an outsider, runs, they will take everything what they have right here and bring all of this false evidence up. They're already preparing it for their academia, lying, evil college professors to start writing papers, okay? So therefore, they're going to be doing, people are going to be writing papers on this stuff, and they're going to be having whole subjects on this whole thing with President Trump. And they're doing this because they want to rewrite history. They know nothing happened, but they want to rewrite history. So a foolish generation down the road that will not research facts for themselves. There's a certain popular person I've been researching lately, and I'm going to tell you something. They are slowly removing things from the internet about him. Number 44. Okay, I won't even mention his name. They're removing it. I kid you not. They're removing it because they're trying to rewrite history. That's why they keep demonizing our president. Yep.
So they're taking information away from 44?
That's right.
Are they
All
going to
bad
reinsert it
information.
later?
It's hard to find right now. Yep. They're removing it because they're trying to just put anything pleasing about him, and they're demonizing Trump. And what they're trying to do is, so they know Trump's going to win in 2020, but from 2024, they're trying to use this to demonize the next outsider so they can bring all this up and then make make 44 look good. That's what they're trying to do. Yep, just look at it. It's obvious.
Yeah, good point.
I'm encouraged though. Yeah, well, go ahead.
Oh, it's okay.
Go ahead, dear.
They rewriting history seems like it does seem like it's happening. I mean, I agree with you there. It's not just that though. I mean, it's not even just with 44. It seems like they're rewriting a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And taking down these statues and things like that. I mean, that's just part of it.
They can't help themselves. But I believe that truth is not subjective, and ultimately, it gets found out, even if it's by, our robot overlords in a millennia when they dig us up from the rubble. But whatever. Mm-hmm. But truth is still truth, and I'm encouraged because. I think alt media and eventually alt tech will find new paths to keep truth alive and available. We just have too much of a spark of ingenuity and people that won't put up with the BS, and smart people out there. And I know some of really smart people, and they come up with some really good ideas. I think in 3-4 years there'll be new things in alt media and alternative banking and some other things that are just going to, render global monopolists impotent in some of the areas that they think they have control over now. It's just this tough interim time. It has to get bad so that these people rise up and do what they have to do. You have to feel some pain to cause the revolution. I mean a revolution in a good way of technology and of information sharing. And it's really hard to delete something. Deleting things from the internet sounds like a terrible dystopian nightmare, but in reality, there are copies of copies of copies. And I guarantee they're not deleting what's on the dark web. They're just not.
Yep.
So
I agree.
Well, it's not that easy.
Sorry, Effie.
Go ahead. I'm done. I done been done.
I was just going to say, my understanding is that once it's on the internet, it's out there. So
yes, it is.
I don't know that they could ever actually delete it all.
No, they can't. So be encouraged about that, and just be encouraged about the minds that are out there. I'm reading a book, I was saying earlier, written by a 14-year-old on a tech manual that I needed for a software program that I'm working on. 14-year-old. So
hold on, guys.
The next generation is smart.
I don't know that they
can. Hold on, guys. Looks like the Mr. Great Douchebag is on the line.
Sorry, my apologies. Apologies to everybody. I don't mean to be late. I'm sorry.
Yeah, turn off for YouTube.
Turn off the YouTube?
Yeah, I mean. You
okay, pause.
Volume.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, okay, hold on. Is it too loud?
No. Hold on. I'll fix it right now. I'll fix it right now. Hold on.
Carl will get it for you.
I got it. Hold on.
My apologies to everybody for being late.
I got it.
No problem.
Hey, for information, what's up?
There we go. All right.
Hey, Sean,
you should be good. All right.
Okay.
You're good. Okay. Just say hey.
Sorry I'm late.
Douchebag, just say hey.
Oh, hey. What's up?
All right. You're good. Okay. All right. Okay.
Looking
I'm
good,
sorry.
BB.
I'm sorry, Effie. Didn't mean to interrupt you there. Just want to get him on there.
No, I wasn't saying anything important except for, you guys are right. You can't delete what's on the internet. That's just, governments eventually can do a lot to deny accessibility for sure. But it's a lot more complicated to delete something, especially by private actors. And let's face it, most of the people engaging in censorship are private actors. Even if they had positions or still even hold positions in the government. They're not the government doing it. So, just think of it as there's two teams out there: the angels of light and the angels of darkness. And truth has the advantage of being truth. So that's why I'm encouraged. But yeah, I mean, case in point, my roommate found a picture of my 13-year-old or 12-year-old behind stuck up a 60-foot tree in the woods of Kentucky that from the local newspaper back in a long time ago. And I didn't even know it was out there. And so you'd be surprised. The information's out there. It's spread around. If it was even printed in a newspaper before the internet was a thing, it's been archived. So it's really hard to get rid of all those archives.
That's true.
And don't go looking for that picture because it's highly embarrassing.
Anyway, let everybody know the phone lines are open. If you want to call and ask the panel a question, area code 775-273-8970. Let me get that up there. Call in to the panel. 775-273-8970.
Yeah, sorry for everybody that I was late. I do apologize.
Shut up.
No
You're
problem.
good.
It's all right. You're working, man.
There you go.
Nothing wrong with that.
Hey, another wrong with working. But another story that was coming out just made the news publicly. A friend of mine was telling me about it. About the measles outbreak. About some guy in New York passed it on to like 40 people in New York City. Anybody hear that story?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, I heard that
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I heard that they're trying to fight the mandatory vaccination. I haven't read much about it, but I know people that have talked about it. I don't know. Is there any truth to that?
No, I haven't heard of that part. I just heard the part that this guy was born in 1961, and he fit in that range that if they said if you had your vaccination between, I didn't hear the year, this year and that year, and I was born in 65, this guy was born in 61, they said you need to retake your measles vaccination.
That's crazy.
Oh.
Well, it's illegal immigration. Yeah. El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala, Nicaragua, the central part of Mexico where they don't have good health care, where people don't get vaccinated. Then they come into this country, and then some guy just happens to be in some city, and he gets it. And then he takes it back to New York City with him, and he infects 40 other people with it. I mean, that's what's going on right now.
So
I don't know if anybody is yeah. I've heard that militia groups are going down there. There was that one group in New Mexico that came under fire for detaining, what was it, about 200 or 300 illegals at gunpoint, I think.
I heard about that.
I heard about that too. Yeah.
I heard about that.
There was I don't know. I haven't had. I've been working all day. I haven't had much time to catch up on the news, but from what I understand, they're facing fire. They're coming under fire from the ACLU. And I'm like, we all know that Soros and his organizations have taken over every single civil rights group in this country. I mean, so it's like, they're going to try and demonize this, all these militia groups that are going down there because our government refuses to do its job to, protect our borders. I mean, I don't know if anybody knows Brian Colfage's,
I said, I'm all for them going down there.
Oh, yeah, same here. Brian Colfage's group, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I just was saying they definitely need the help.
Yeah,
a lot of the
definitely
Border Patrol needs help.
Yeah, there. But I wonder if Brian Colfage, because somebody did a $6 million donation to him and a $400,000 donation, both were offline donations. But I wonder if he's going to privatize border security through like militia groups or something. Kind of maybe bring it under civilian control, maybe certain parts of the border through militia group, but I don't know how he would be able to do that.
I don't know, but one thing I did hear was about that detention. Now, basically, they cross illegally. I believe that's a misdemeanor. So anybody can make a misdemeanor citizen's arrest. I mean, if you see a misdemeanor being committed in your presence, you can make the arrest. In fact, when the cops show up, if it's just a misdemeanor, that's one of the few times they ask, do you want this person arrested? Because the cops did not witness that person actually committing the misdemeanor. So, like, if somebody committed petty larceny from your store, basically they're going to ask the shop owner, the store owner, you know, do you want him arrested? It's one of the few times when they ask if you want to quote-unquote press charges. Now, things like domestic battery, that's a misdemeanor, that's an exception. DUI, that's an exception. That kind of stuff. But your normal typical misdemeanor, and I guess if you jump the wall your first time, I'm pretty sure that's a misdemeanor crime. So if they're making arrests and detaining and then holding for law enforcement, I don't know. I haven't looked at it enough, but it doesn't sound illegal. You know, now, here's the problem. We got to make sure the right guys are going down there. You know, I mean, all it takes, I'll tell somebody else about this, all it takes is one nutcase, you know, to shoot somebody.
Yeah.
You know.
That's where I was going to go, Carl.
Yeah.
I don't even think it'll be a nutcase. I think it'll be a false flag. That's what I'm waiting for. I'm ready to start the pool on how many days before the false flag, oops, somebody got hurt, and it was one of those nasty right-wing militia types. Those extremists, you know, because following the Constitution is extreme, and following the law is extreme, and protecting the country is extreme, and I'm out of things to list. My irony has reached a boiling point. But, so, sarcasm alert, I think there will be a false flag, but really real. And it's very easy to walk into a Trump rally wearing a MAGA hat and do something stupid. And it has been tried, and it has been done. And they've been thrown out on their behinds for doing it. But somebody's willing to do something bad, you know, some disgruntled, you know, FBI guy that didn't get to be involved in impeaching Trump, you know, his devious plan failed. Oh, he's willing to go shoot you know, it's not like they really care about these immigrants. They don't care if they get hurt. I mean, look what they're already getting hurt. They're already getting murdered and raped and sex trafficked and drug muled and, you know, drug all over the place and starving and dehydrating and being kicked out of every decent country in the Western Hemisphere. So, you know, they're not having a good time with all this. So they don't care about these people. So what's one dead, you know, illegal to the people that want to bring down Western democracy? I mean, our way of life. So, yeah, I mean, I sound like a cynical little coot, but I just think we've seen too much already. So that's just one murder. That's nothing. How many murders have they done already?
And if these militia groups get into some kind of, let's say, firefight with some of these drug cartels that are armed, some of these armed guard drug cartels, you know, that could create an international incident too. I mean, you know,
conceivably a better one though. Conceivably, if that happened, if a drug cartel was actually opening fire on American citizens, you know, we would have some degree of control of that narrative because then it's a.
We have a call coming in. We can hear him, but he won't be able to hear you guys. Okay, there we go. Laylo.
Hey, Carl.
Hey, Laylo.
We can wave.
Laylo.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead, say something.
Hello. 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you now.
Hey, Lilo.
I can hear you. Can everybody hear me?
You guys can all hear Laylo, right? Yep. Yeah, they can all hear you now. You can't hear them. Sorry, I haven't got that part worked out. That's a miracle of science if I get it done. But
that's fine.
But yeah, you got a question for the panel? You got a question for the panel, Mr. Laylo?
Yeah. I just didn't want to be rude like last time. I didn't know they were talking. I couldn't hear them.
No, that wasn't your fault. That was my fault. My fault. I already apologized to Texas as well. Yeah. So I'm sorry.
No problem, Carl. Real quick. 2 things. Don't be late again. You one douchebag. All right, don't let it happen again. All right. Everybody looks beautiful over here, man. So hello to everybody in the panel, in the chat. No, I just want to say real quick. I know you guys were talking about the illegals coming here and all that stuff.
Right.
So yeah, my question. Well, I'm pretty sure I know what you're going to answer anyway. what is guys? I know you probably don't have an answer, but anyway, what is guys? I just want to know what do you guys think when this is going to stop? I know it's a hard question. I just want to know your opinion, and that's it. That's my question. I'm going to hang up. I'm going to be listening to you guys.
Well,
I just
okay,
want to
so
know
you
what
mean-
everybody thinks.
As far as stop on illegal immigration?
Yeah, when you think it's going to stop? In a year, 2 years, 3 years? I don't know. I just want to know what you guys think. I mean, of course, we don't know. I'm just curious.
Well,
I'm just curious if people think the same thing like me. I don't know. Okay, you got what I'm trying to say,
Yeah,
Carl?
totally. Got it.
I know.
Yeah.
I know we don't know the answer. I'm just curious to know what you guys think. All right, I'm going to hang up. I'm going to be listening to what you guys have to say. All right?
All right, sounds good. All right, bye-bye.
That's a good question.
All right,
Good
that was
question.
the great Lalo calling in. Okay, guys, go ahead.
I think, personally, just real fast, I think what Trump is doing far as with the D class coming up, and I'll link the two together, he's going after the very source of it. He realizes even if you gave him another $5 or $7 billion for the border right now, it wouldn't really stop it. And I think he's trying to go after the source right now, as far as with the D class. And I think he knows that that's a slam dunk right there. I think he knows once he's done with that and whatever else is the plan, then all the other dominoes are going to fall in alignment. It's frustrating to see what's happening right now. I live in California, so obviously we're getting the brunt of it. So
Yeah.
it's not fun.
Right.
But I get what he's doing. He's obviously going after the source of it, and I think once he cuts the source of it off, then you're going to see everything line up right.
Well, that'd be nice,
Yeah.
Lee, when you say going after the source, are you talking about cutting fundings to the three nations, the Central American nations?
I think that's a part of it, and also too, what's inside the D class. There's so much that's involved within that declassification that's going to be coming up now that the Mueller report is out. Remember, he said, if you keep up with some of his tweets, I'm sure you guys do. One of the things that he talked about, that he said that he couldn't declassify anything far as the treasonous things that they were planning against him, because it would have made him look like he was committing obstruction of justice while the investigation was going on. So I think once he releases the D class now, it's free and open now. It's open game now. It's going to point right back at who. There's a great article from Gateway Pundit back in February 14th. It's called "Obama Fading in the Silhouette," and it points out detail for detail exactly what this guy was doing and how he was setting all this stuff up. And once that stuff is completely in the open, the very strength of this thing, what they're trying to do, far as invade our country with this stuff and tear down and rip away America's sovereignty, that's going to be exposed in the open. And then Trump's going to say checkmate. And that's why he put out the other day, game over, because he knows now it's just a matter of a few weeks. Once he releases that, it is official. The real investigation begins, and it's going to be a complete slam dunk.
All right, so
Thank God.
So who
Yeah.
are they looking at as far as like who's like the man behind the curtain, like the people behind the curtain? Who are
Well-
like the real mover and shakers who are actually doing? I mean, like Steyer's out in front, so it can't be him,
Mhm.
right? He's got to be
Yeah.
somebody behind him, because you don't put
Yeah.
the guy out front who's like the guy behind the curtain. Well, obviously, but so like who are the people like doing all the moving and shaking on this one? Who are they
Well,
looking
I
at?
would definitely, you do know, I remember, and you guys all saw this the other week. Remember, I think it was 10 days or 12 days ago, Clapper put Obama number 44 under the bus, and I'm sure you guys saw that when he said, well, it was number 44 that basically he said in so many words, he was trying to look all weak and everything. Oh, it was 44 that made us do it. I'm sure you guys saw that. And he threw him right under the bus.
Yeah,
It's
that was
coming
crazy.
after him. Yeah.
I never
Yep.
heard Obama respond to that either.
Sure didn't. Yep, and that
Yeah.
was Clapper, out of his own mouth on CNN. Yep.
Yeah. And it's
Um,
and obviously, I'm sorry, Obama's not the man behind the curtain. Obama's the guy on
Oh yeah,
front.
no, he's not though. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not.
So there's Clapper trying to create some disinformation, trying to make us look over here. When he's trying to hide who's over here. So I mean, it's like the Bilderberg Group. I mean, those guys. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, the guys who are, I guess they can rationalize it because they probably think that they keep the world on a steady course. It doesn't go too far one way or too far the other. But then again, they've been responsible for a lot of wars, and a lot of dead people, which again in their mind is population control. That's what they think about. The planet can't hold all these people. We need to get rid of 50 million. World War II, 100 million World War II. That kind of stuff. So I mean, in their mind, they're rationally. I mean, I like to think they think they're doing something for the good of humanity overall, and probably their theory is, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. I'm just taking a guess. Unless they're just pure evil, they like just hurting people. I don't know, and they get a big kick out of it. The kind of guys who go grab a squirrel or something and just chop its head off for shits and giggles. I mean, I don't know about that. I like to think these guys are highly educated. They're thinking okay, for the good of 3 billion people, these many people have to die, these many people have to suffer. But then again, 2.8 billion will be happy, and these 200 million people will be dead or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, it's what we were talking about the other night, that the greatest monsters in history probably think in that moment that they were doing the right thing. We have the perspective of history to look back and see how horrible it really was. But in their limited perspective, in their time, what was in front of them at the time, they probably thought, well, this is the best choice out of the choices I have to make, and for my people, for whatever the greater good, whatever they have to tell themselves. I do think that there are evil people who are major players and doing things for selfish reasons, of course. But I do think that, a lot of people, and you have to consider the pathology. It's not like rational thought. When somebody's really at that level, they're a psychopath. So, perspective is completely skewed at that level. And, killing people for the greater good is still about selfishness, because it's about ego gratification. I did this. I've corrected these, because these peons don't know how to run the world. And so they're the elitists that believe they can do it. And really, who do they want left alive? They want the most malleable,
hold on, guys. Hold on, we got a
uneducated.
Hold on, excuse me, guys. Got a phone call coming in. Disabled vet is calling in.
Hey.
How you doing?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Doing okay. You got
Hey.
a question
Can
for the
only
panel?
wait because
Oh,
they
right.
can't hear us.
Well, I have an interesting thing I heard about today. I guess I'll be handling the military part of this conversation. Hello to everybody on the panel. I heard that they had an incident on the 13th of April where some federales or some Mexican military confronted a couple of our soldiers on the U.S. soil side, and they confronted them at gunpoint, and apparently one of the soldiers relinquished his firearm to them while they were trying to straighten out what was going on. And I'm not sure if it was the period of time that I went through my training or if there's something that has significantly changed, but turning over your weapon to a foreign military is, in my day, that would have gotten you thrown in Leavenworth. And I'm just fascinated at the change that's taking place, and the fact that we basically are told to stand down when we're confronted by another foreign military and relinquish our weapons. It's stunning, and it's just like that deal with President Obama when he was in, and that group of Navy guys turned over that Navy ship to the Iranians, that little quick boat, and they were able to take weapons off of it and all this other stuff. In my day, if you're confronted by a foreign military person, then the rules of engagement say that if they raise a firearm on you, you can extinguish them. And I'm just I don't know if you guys heard the report, but I just wanted to throw that in the conversation since we're talking about the border and see what you all thought of that. But,
All right,
it's
disabled.
fascinating.
Hold on, disabled. Okay, you're not gonna be able to hear them, but I tell you what, stay on the phone.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, but no, stay on the phone, and I just want to hear from the panel. Then I'll let you know what they had to say, and then we can do some follow up. Okay, so just stay on the phone. Panel, any thoughts on what Mr. Disabled Vet's perspective just brought up?
I did hear
Does
about
anyone
it.
have anything?
Just real quick, I'll just say I did hear about it. From what I heard, there was kind of like it was just two military personnel in an unmarked car, and they were surrounded basically in an ambush type situation. So for them to just start firing on them would have just been suicide. I'm not an expert on war engagement, things of that nature, but
All right,
just common sense, and
hold on, Tony.
self-preservation.
Okay, Disabled Vet, are they sure that they were on the U.S. side? And was there any explanation if they were?
Absolutely.
And what were what's the explanation as far as why the Mexican soldiers were on the U.S. side? Were they pursuing somebody? What were they doing?
They actually, the Mexican soldiers assumed that the U.S. guys, since they were on the south side of the fence, they assumed that they were in Mexican territory. But there's a buffer of several yards that we actually recessed the wall back onto U.S. property several yards with the idea that the Border Patrol can run on the outside of the fence and stop people before they get onto U.S. soil and turn them around, so to speak. But they say the incident has been investigated, but it's probably been investigated by a liberal bias, so to speak, because, I mean, maybe I'm just totally off the wall here, but it seems like a totally different rules of engagement, and relinquishing your sidearm or any weapon to a foreign military that comes at you with hostility is, I went through military in 89 to 92, and I was actually in the last rotation in basic training where they could actually physically handle you. So I just think it's completely changed, and it's gotten out of hand.
Well, I tell you what, let me ask a Disabled Vet a question. Okay, Tony brought up a point. He was saying that, and you can correct us if we're wrong, it was just 2 U.S. soldiers? It wasn't like it was a squad or a platoon or anything? Was it just 2 guys?
Yeah, it was 2 guys, and apparently only one of them had a sidearm, which just by process of deduction, it's the officers that carry sidearms. So I'm assuming that the one was an officer and the other one was probably enlisted. But the enlisted people weren't allowed to carry their weapons because of the agreement that was made between the liberals and the conservatives somewhere in D.C. on how they were going to perform at the border. They didn't want them to be presumed to be threatening.
Well, kind of a posse comitatus thing. We don't let our U.S. military enforce domestic law. But okay, so I mean, 2 guys, 1 guy armed, and how many Mexican soldiers do they say there were?
They haven't specified the number of them. They just made a point that they were confronted by soldiers of Mexico.
All right, Disabled. Hold on a second. Let me ask Tony a question. Tony, did they say how many Mexican soldiers there were?
I didn't hear a number, but I just heard that they surrounded them with an ambush type style. So okay. I'm imagining it was a much larger number than 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Disabled Vet, let me just say this to you. I mean, you are allowed to surrender. I mean, that's not, you don't go to Leavenworth for surrendering. I mean, if you're surrounded and, let's just say World War II, your platoon's out there and here comes the battle in the Ardennes, and here comes a regiment, and you're surrounded by a regiment, you're in the platoon. You could fight it out to the death if you want. I mean, probably the honorable thing to do, but then again, maybe not. So, I mean, if that platoon surrendered to a regiment, obviously they wouldn't be held be court-martialed or anything. I mean, would they?
Well, I don't. In this circumstance, I don't know. We're not at wartime. We're not at war, and a foreign military confronts you aggressively. I mean, if you have to surrender, you're going to surrender, I guess. To me, it's not in my blood. I've been trained to first evade and then escape. If you can't evade, then you escape and you make a living hell for whoever decided to grab you. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not getting all the information. It's like pulling teeth trying to get any information from sources and stuff like that right now. So I've only got a little bit of information I'm trying to go on.
Yeah, I mean, I just hate to slam these two soldiers. There was like 20 guys pointing AR-M16s at them, our M16s that we sell them, that they use, and saying,
well, yeah, that's disgusting too.
Well, no, but I mean, no, I have no problem selling the Mexican government U.S.-made guns. I mean, they're going to buy them from China.
I have the Breitbart article if you want me to read some of it.
Okay, I tell you what,
yeah,
disabled, hold on. Now, you're not going to be able to hear this, but Effie's got the Breitbart article up, so she's going to read it, so just sit tight for a sec, okay, disabled?
Yeah, man.
Okay, go ahead, Effie.
Okay, it's just today. Yeah, today, or maybe yesterday. A group of armed Mexican soldiers detained and disarmed a pair of U.S. soldiers on the U.S. side of the Texas border with Mexico. The U.S. soldiers were eventually released and their weapons returned. A group of 5 to 6 Mexican soldiers approached the 2 U.S. soldiers along the border near Clint, Texas. It was on April 13th. The U.S. soldiers were appropriately in U.S. territory. Officials with the U.S. Northern Command told CNN. The U.S. soldiers were reportedly carrying out border support operations in an unmarked U.S. Customs and Border Protection vehicle. So they were in an unmarked car, too. Officials said the Mexican soldiers pointed their weapons at the U.S. troops, removed a sidearm from one of the soldiers' belts. The Mexican soldier reportedly placed the handgun in the CBP vehicle. And an official from Northern Command stated the Mexican soldiers were armed with what appeared to be assault rifles, whatever that means. CNN reported they said the U.S. soldiers allowed the weapon to be taken in an attempt to de-escalate a potentially volatile situation. So that was the reason given. It was to attempt to de-escalate a potentially volatile situation. CNN reported that one of the soldiers...
I'm
right.
sure.
Yeah, okay, disabled. To tell you what, I'm going to tell you what Effie just read from Breitbart News. Okay, it's like 5 to 6 Mexican soldiers confronted them in an unmarked Customs Border Patrol agent vehicle. So obviously they know what the car looks like. I mean, those cars drive all around that border all the time. And even when he took the gun off the U.S. soldier, he didn't take it with him. He put it in their car. But, well, okay. But he still knew he still knew who these guys were. But it seems like potentially what it could be starting up is a kind of, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a really good word. The Mexican government being pissed off with us enforcing, our immigration laws. Because, again, the Mexicans use us
and
as
they're testing us.
Yeah. They use us as a release valve for their country. But I tell you what, Disabled, I'm going to let you go, and then I'm going to shoot this back over to the panel, okay? But, hey, thanks for the phone call so much, man.
Yeah, man, appreciate it. Talk to you guys later.
All right, man, take care. All right, thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Good to see you.
All right, Lee, I think, Lee, you were about to say something? I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, this absolutely angers me. We were talking about this before the last one I was on with you guys, with people fire on American citizens, with soldiers, American soldiers firing on American citizens, and something is just fishy and weird about this. Something's just complete weird. This has traitors written all over it. I have a hard time. Either these are just some weak beta male soldiers, or something's weird about this, and this definitely needs to be investigated. This angers me right here. This stuff right here absolutely angers me, because just people I have known that have been in the military, they would never hand their sidearm over on American soil this if this isn't a wake-up call, I don't know what is. That's all I have to say. I'm going to read this tonight and research this. This angers me.
So,
Yeah.
Lee, do you think it's kind of like the training they're doing with as far as the military? As far as, I mean, I'm sure they're going through a lot of sensitivity training and, you know, be in touch with your feelings. And then we had the whole LGBTQ kind of thing going on. Do you think they're kind of like softening our soldiers up a little bit too much?
Yep. 100% right. Yep.
Wow, that's insane.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah. Hey, Lee, I have a question. If you were done, I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt or anything.
Sure, go ahead.
Oh no, kind of a little bit off subject, but kind of pertains to what what we're talking about now. I talked about this once with Carl, but when I first started doing my research and I found out about Mercer and some of these other billionaires that were conservative, I kind of got the impression that within the Bilderberg group, there was a faction that favored capitalism and nationalism on, say, a global scale, and then there was the other faction, the Soros and the Rothschilds, that favored a new world order based in a socialist type of government, basically. Would that theory sound far-fetched to you?
I don't think so. I think there's definitely insiders. There are people out there, as I have, you know, have listened and studied this subject over the years. Obviously, there are things that are leaking out, and it has been proven to be so. And as we look at what's happening with the country right now, as far as the whole border situation, people were talking about this increasing to this, what we're having right now, years ago. So obviously there's some insiders in there. Obviously there are patriots in there. Obviously, I don't know exactly how many, but I definitely would say that there are some patriots in there, people that are standing for nationalism. They understand that this thing is whenever globalism does come in, it is so dark. I mean, I won't get into that now because that's a whole nother rabbit hole and a whole nother show. But it is so dark, and we're seeing this in operation with this article that she just read, and just this weird concept of what like what Carl was saying, as far as the whole sensitivity training and how all of that is linked into globalism and how it's to demasculize the man and to leave the woman alone, essentially to be weak, and they're bringing in these third world individuals. And if you study the subject of what's going on the same thing that we're dealing with in our country as far as the borders are concerned, they pump up the men from other countries and say these are real men, but then the men in their country, they demonize them. My sister and I were talking about this, and she was saying they have completely just undressed and demonized, especially American Caucasian straight males. They have completely demonized them, and it's gotten to a point where many of them are believing these horrific things are about them, and they had nothing to do with things from 200-300 years ago. So they're like what we're seeing right here with the article she just read. They're willing to give up their weapons. Are you serious?
Can I add one more thing on what you're saying there, Lee?
Sure.
Because you hit on a couple of things. I thank you. A couple of things that were rolling around in my head today. I was married to a veteran, and he is not doing well. So the situation during the Clinton years was when the rules of engagement changed. That's when the handcuff rules started. That's when the reduction of forces started in earnest, and that's when we started hearing bad stories. And that was before even the first Gulf War, Desert Shield happened. That was before that even started, because the Clinton years was when a lot of people that I knew. Sorry, I have a bug bugging me. their lives were in danger, and they felt betrayed because they were told to do stupid things like go to places and question people and don't fire first. Wait till they try to fire first. Things that are just ridiculous in a combat situation. But that being said, this particular situation that I just read, I don't really see how these two, I'm sure fine, upstanding men, going to the border here. I don't see how they could have done any differently. They have 5 to 6 heavily armed soldiers from any place surrounding them. Only one of them had a sidearm. What are they going to do? Shoot it out? I mean, it's not really a good. There's no good choice in that situation. And also, what they're there to do is they're not in a war. They're not there to. Even the rules of engagement even though they've changed for war, they're not even operating at that level. At that point, they're operating as an adjunct to border security, and they're told not to engage. So, I mean, they're really not even. I don't even know why they're there. As far as I'm concerned, they're cannon fodder for the drug cartels. But I digress. I think honestly, I'd rather have the militia there because they're allowed to be armed legally, at least for now, as long as we still have the Second Amendment.
I agree.
And the other thing you touched on that I was kind of ranting to someone else today about is the whole beta male thing. I am sick to death of seeing young men on YouTube crying. I don't want to see it anymore. It's
damn right, damn straight. Yeah.
I don't even cry that much. I mean, the last time I cried over something stupid, I was in my 20s, and I'm way past that, and I'm a woman. So come on. And here's the thing. You were saying how the psyops works in these third world countries, especially people of a certain religious and socio persuasion. They have they are pumped up to believe this is how man behaves, even though they're just behaving like animals in a lot of these extremist versions of that. But but they see these videos. How do you think that they think we are? That's just giving them more encouragement to say, yeah, come and run over. I think a lot of the reasons why the caravans are like, yeah, we'll take that money and walk up north and try this, because we've seen the YouTube videos and these guys cry at a beautiful butterfly nowadays. So what do they have to lose, really?
Yeah. Lee, real quick, I'm sorry. Were you done, Ify? I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Lee, do you think? Oh, okay. Do you think that the Mercers and Trump stand a good chance of bringing our country back? I mean, with us, with the American people, helping to try and educate people, to bring them the facts. Do you think that between what the Mercers are doing and what Trump is doing, that they can successfully bring our country back to more a constitutional republic? I mean, just from what you've seen and what you've studied on the Mercers so far?
I think we can, but it will not come without walking without a limp. The country's gotten to such a condition that I believe that we can overcome this. I believe we will. We have to overcome it. We're the final light of the world. We will overcome this, but it will come at the price of walking with a limp for a while. That we allowed our country, the academia, college system, the school system to get in the condition that it's in. And I believe that we're going to overcome this. I believe that we're heading into some interesting years in the next 3 to 4 years. And I believe we're going to win. But it will come at the price that for a little while we may walk with a limp, but eventually we'll come out with a new glory, a new light on us. And I believe once we go through this, we will never go through anything like this again, because after this, it's complete destruction if we don't turn this thing around. We don't have a choice. Because
a lot of people don't understand that if it wasn't for the Mercers doing what they did, helping Brexit, they kind of, the Mercers disrupted the EU by providing Nigel Farage with the statistics, that whole Cambridge Analytical thing. I'm sorry, but
Yes.
I applaud the Mercers for doing that. I do. I mean, don't get me wrong. It all depends on what side you're on, of course. But if you're for populism and nationalism and having capitalism and having a country, you get behind what the Mercers and Trump are doing. And from what I understand, the Mercers are setting up another data mining company. But it's interesting because a lot of people don't understand. I mean, like Kellyanne Conway, she has ties to the Mercers. So does Steve Bannon. I mean, she's been with Trump since day one. Because I believe that when Bannon and Trump broke publicly, it was so so Trump could distance himself from Bannon, so Bannon can do what he had to do, take on the EU, because he started a group called the Movement in Europe, and from what I understand, it's uniting all of the populist nationalist parties of Europe that are opposed to these globalists. And they also, I don't know if they're behind the Yellow Vest movement or not, but I'll tell you what, it seems like since Bannon went to Europe and started this thing, the movement, it seemed like the Yellow Vest just kind of popped out of nowhere, and the like when they were trucking people in Canada full of Yellow Vest protesters, somebody with money had to be paying for that. And I'm not saying it's the Mercers, I don't know, but it would not surprise me if it was them behind it, because the Mercers don't talk to the press. They don't. That's why I encourage people to find out who the Mercers are, because they are definitely on our side. They backed. There's an article on Google about how the Mercers backed anti-Muslim commercials, and Robert Mercer, I think, funded it through a PAC that he backs. There is the article on Google, but I think it's. I mean, I just think any hope of turning our country around lies in what they can do and what Trump can do. Because the Mercers have kept these globalists at bay. I don't know for how long, but it seems like they've kept them at bay for a while. But like anything else, it's only a matter of time before. Well, I'd have to say they're probably doing a pretty good job because the globalists haven't been able to bring them down. So, the Mercers must have a pretty good control of what's going on, of what they're doing.
Yeah.
But would you agree with that or not? I mean, what's your opinion on that?
Well, definitely. Yeah, I'm looking at some stuff on them right now as you're speaking, as far as Brexit, as far as as far as their backing of Brexit. And some other things I'm going to be researching on them, because that's my whole thing, as globalism and us restoring order, at our borders and bringing restoration back to our borders. And my purpose of the whole this whole anti-global thing is because it's to completely destroy our identity. And I definitely do believe that they are one of the major forces behind keeping national sovereignty as far as identity is concerned, because once your identity is gone as a nation, that's it. It's over. It's lights out, baby. And we were this close. Had she would have won, they never thought she would lose. Had she would have won, though, our identity was gone, and thank God she didn't. So definitely, they're definitely fighting, and I definitely believe there's some other multi-super millionaire billionaires that are on our side, that are fighting these guys off, because they know that eventually they know that I believe here's what I believe. I believe that these people have done enough research and they have enough intel and have figured out that they are not necessarily invited to the party. If things transition completely the way of globalism, they know they're not invited to the party, because you have to be, as they would say, as far as in the whole mafia, a made man or a made family. And unless you are willing to go complete dark side, okay, you're not invited to the party. So I think they recognize that, and they're fighting with everything they got against these people. And see, like me,
that's one of the reasons why, Lee, it's like, it's funny because I think God works in mysterious ways. It's like, I don't think, Lee, that it was an accident that I came across your channel. I don't think it's an accident that, you are here with us talking. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
American Joe, people who can help you get a voice. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes I make a fool of myself in super chats and in front of 800 or 900 people. But if that gets 10 or 12 or 15 people to subscribe to Tony Patriot or Chrissy-Ann or Disabled Vets or Carl's or you, I'm all for it, because I send those super chats and sometimes they won't even let me send them. So I have to word them in a way that, people will, hopefully people go and check it out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Check out your channels. And I truly believe that right now, I mean, this is a movement. What we're doing on Carl, what we're doing on, because Carl's got the base. American Joe's got the base. You've got the base. I don't really have a base. People just know my name, and, I've been able to give shout-outs to Chrissy-Ann, to Tony Patriot on Trump Parody Guys show. And that's, that's brought some other subscribers. But what American Joe did yesterday for, not to change the subject, I'm sorry, but what American Joe did for Forbidden Information yesterday, he got I think it was 30, 40 subs just in that one night. If we had people with the bigger platforms to promote these smaller channels, we can get these smaller YouTube channels a voice, like I've been doing for Tony Patriot, for Chrissy-Ann, and that's what we need, because the more content creators have a voice, the more YouTube will say, hey, look, these people aren't going anywhere, or Instagram or Twitter,
Right.
I agree.
I agree with that. Hey, we were talking earlier about the militia story, and I just found a story from the Wall Street Journal today, and they talk about it. Now, caveat, it's the Wall Street Journal. They love any kind of immigration, legal, illegal, whatever, because, they're about business, and business is like lots of labor. Lots of labor keeps the price of labor down. You go look for a job, you're competing with 5 people, you got a better chance of getting the wage you want. You're competing against 100 people, you're going to get what they give you. So anyway, it's from the Wall Street Journal, so that's the caveat. But anyway, they do talk about militia detaining migrants at border. Let me go and punch that over there right now, and we'll take a look at it. So here we go. Okay, and let's get us up here as well. There we go. Boom. Well, right over the headline. But anyway, you get the point. So, militia detains migrants at border, and let's go follow this story. Okay, a civilian militia group patrolling the U.S.-Mexico border in southern New Mexico has started detaining illegal border crossers at gunpoint from state authorities and the American Civil Liberties Union. In a video posted on Facebook this week, a group of hundreds of migrants, including numerous small children, is seen sitting on the ground near Sunland Park, New Mexico. A woman with the militia group making the recording can be heard telling others not to point guns at the migrants while they wait for U.S. Border Patrol agents to arrive. New Mexico Attorney General, of course, Hector Balderas, said his office told that as many as 300 people were detained by the group identified online as the United Constitutional Patriots. According to this is the Attorney General for the state of New Mexico, Hector Balderas. He says these individuals should not attempt to exercise authority reserved for law enforcement, said Mr. Balderas, a Democrat. The ACLU of New Mexico asked state authorities to investigate the incident, which the civil rights group called illegal. Their actions undermine the legitimate efforts of our state's law enforcement officials to keep New Mexico families safe, and they erode community trust. The group said in a letter to Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, Mr. Balderas. Illegal border crossings have been on the rise since last year, and at times the volume of migrants, mostly families fleeing violence fleeing violence in Central America. That's Wall Street Journal's spin on it. They're not fleeing violence. They just want to come here and live the American dream, but they should stay in their own country and turn their country into the Honduran dream, the El Salvadorian dream, the Nicaraguan dream, the Guatemalan dream. Anyway, and there's violence here. The same kind of violence they got there, we got here. Anyway, I digress. As Anthony Bryan Logan would say. and seeking asylum. Okay, so mostly families fleeing violence in Central America and seeking asylum has overwhelmed immigration authorities at the border. Since the start of the federal government's budget year in October, more than 189,000 such migrants have crossed the border. The United States Constitutional Patriots didn't respond to requests to comments sent to the group's Facebook page. Photos of the group's social media page show heavily armed men carrying rifles and wearing camouflage and tactical vests. Their faces are covered. The U.S. Border Patrol was called to the scene, recorded by the group, and ultimately took the migrant families into custody. In the video posted online, none of the migrants attempted to flee the armed civilians. Well, yeah, there you go. The agency said in a statement that it does not endorse or condone private groups or organizations taking enforcement matters into their own hands. Interference by civilians in law enforcement matters could have public safety and legal consequences for all parties involved. Armed militia groups patrolling the border aren't new. During the later half of George W. Bush administration, multiple groups began patrolling the border. They started in southern Arizona amid a contentious national debate about immigration. And so there you go. And let's get us back in. Yay. All right, let's pull us off real quick here. So, now, basically you got 300 migrants being detained. Doesn't sound like anybody got arrested. Any of the militia group got arrested. So that sounds like that was a pretty good day. Now, if you notice, nobody's actually coming out saying, hey, what you guys did was illegal. They're all just saying, like, well, you shouldn't be involved in law enforcement activities. Well, you know,
Carl, I thought I heard you say the word illegal in the article. That's why I was getting a little miffed there.
They said the actual language
Potentially illegal?
Yeah, they said they should not take matters into their own hands. Interference by civilians in law enforcement matters could have public safety and legal consequences for all parties involved.
Twisting the words, because there's nothing illegal about it.
Right, it's not illegal.
Twisting the words, twisting the narrative.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So,
Can we smack them over the head with the Constitution when they talk like that and say, look what you did?
well,
Rub their nose in it.
they're legally carrying a firearm. Okay, now, you know, for the liberals who always debate the Second Amendment, they say, oh, it only applies to militia groups. Well, here's the militia group.
Exactly why I was shaking my head.
Right.
I was saying, what do they think a well-armed militia means? I remember Rosie O'Donut. She was debating somebody about this very thing because she's Miss Queen of Anti-Gun from way back. And somebody said to her in a chat that I was in, actually, said something to her about citizens having, you know, what it said about what the Second Amendment said, and they quoted the beginning part of it, where, you know, shall not be infringed. And, sorry, I can't speak proper English when I'm mad. I start getting all Kentucky. You know what that's like, Paul? So then she responded, and I don't remember if it was on Twitter or one of these things, but I don't go in those social media hellholes. She said, the rest of it says, a well-armed militia, end of statement, as if that was the end of the argument. Well, here we go, Rosie. Well-armed militia doing their job. What you gonna say now? Go eat a donut. Stop talking.
And actually,
one person in the chat.
Yeah, go ahead. And actually,
I was going to say.
Go ahead. Who's talking? Is that Tony?
Tony. I was just going to say,
Yeah.
one person in the chat said that mainstream media is reporting that one of the militia guys got arrested. Sharon says in the chat.
Yeah, and I just wrote back to her, and my guess is, since it wasn't all of them getting arrested, it was just one guy. Well, you know, you usually got that one guy who's going to be a smartass, right? You know, the cop,
Yeah.
the CPD shows up. You just say, "Hey guys, here you go," and you don't start getting into an argument. I'm sure somebody in the CPD probably said, "Hey, you really shouldn't be doing that," and this guy probably said, "Hey, F you," and I'm sure it went from there, and the guy probably got arrested. Otherwise, all of them would have been arrested if they were being arrested for actually detaining these people. So, I mean,
Right.
yeah,
Good
you always
point.
get one smartass in the group. I mean, it's like what we talked about when you get pulled over. You know, that's the cop scene. Let them have their day. Give the baby his bottle. So CPD shows up. You say, hey, here you go. and of course, there's going to be some smart asses on the CPD. I'm sorry. Human beings are human beings. You put a badge on, it doesn't change that. So some guy probably smart, some CPD guy probably smarted off to one of the militia guys. One of the militia guys probably smarted off back. Well, the guys with the uniforms and the badges, they win that argument. And so click, click, you probably walk away. That's why, you get pulled over, same thing. Get pulled over, say, okay, the guy calls you an idiot. Hey, I'm an idiot. The guy calls you a dick. Yeah, I'm dick. And then, of course, you're recording the whole thing, and then you go to court and say, hey, he called me a dick. He called me an idiot. Here you go, judge. And the judge goes, oh, case dismissed, and calls the cop over. There you go. So that's probably what happened, I guess. But actually, the language talks about well-armed, but it also mainly talks about well-regulated. Now, here's the deal on that. You got to read it in the context of when it was written. So, well-regulated doesn't mean like today, like we talk about government regulating something, government regulation. What regulated in those days meant was like it worked well, like they referred to a well-regulated clock. Up until say the mid 1800s, that's what it meant. So obviously, when the Second Amendment was written back in 1789, it was in that context. People read it today, they go, oh, well-regulated militia, oh, government control. Well, no, it doesn't. In fact, no court's ever come back and ruled that way. Because if they had, there would be no militias, unless they were run by the government. And there's plenty of militias not run by the government. So obviously, that's been taken up, and every judge who's looked at it has said, even the most liberal will say, well, yeah, but, So, I mean, it didn't mean regulated by the federal government. Because if you look at the Second Amendment, all the Bill of Rights were designed to protect individuals from the overreach of the federal government. So obviously, you went and say, like it says, government shall not, establish religion. It doesn't say, it doesn't say the reverse. So same thing here. It wouldn't say, okay, we're going to put the Second Amendment in place to protect you from the overreach of the federal government, and we're going to make the federal government run it. No, you'd have to be like insanely stupid to try to literally, truly insanely stupid to try to read that into it. So, I think these guys are on good legal grounds. I'm not down there. Again, it's probably something I probably need to research. But without researching, it's just on its face. Misdemeanor committed in their presence. They're allowed to keep in bear arms. They're allowed to carry firearms. They're in New Mexico. They probably have open carry. I'm sure all these guys who are part of that militia group were probably, my guess, citizens of New Mexico. They probably have the regulations that the state does have on militias right there, and I'm sure every box is checked. Every box is checked. They know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly how to be legal. The whole trick is just make sure you don't get that one idiot. But anyway, go ahead, Lee. I think you wanted to say something, or were you waving, or you froze up?
I think he's saying goodbye, Carl.
I think he's saying he's frozen.
He's leaving.
He's leaving.
I think he's leaving.
Oh,
yeah.
He always does that. He did that last time. He just he leaves, doesn't even say goodbye. He just says, "I'm leaving." Like, okay, fine. But anyway.
No, he said it in the chat.
Oh,
he did
I
say
guess
it in the
I
chat.
should have been paying attention to the chat. It was too hard for him to say, "Hey, Carl, I'm leaving." That's okay.
But
all right, so let me. Okay, go ahead, guys. Let me find him real quick, just so we don't keep his frozen picture up on the. Although I should just leave that frozen picture of him up there. They'd be like, "Oh, payback," because it's funny.
You can put some Snapchat filters on it. Put little puppy ears on him.
Oh yeah. It's funny. He can't even take that down. So I can leave it up. No, I won't. No, it's not nice.
Yeah.
All right.
But we have got to get the smaller channels more subscribers. We got to get like Lee says, we have to get organized. We have to get how to say, some of the more YouTube channels bigger. Tony Patriot, we got to grow your channel. But we have to get the bigger channels to give shout outs to the smaller channels. The reason why I say that is because with 2020 fast approaching, we need all the voices that we can get. We have to be organized. We have to be more organized than we are now. I mean, let's face it, the left is more organized than we are when it comes to, when it comes to pushing an agenda and getting their message out there. We don't have, even though we may outnumber them, from what I've heard, I don't know how true that is, but, we have to get better at getting organized, and the way I see that is by getting behind people who can put out good content, like Christiane, Carl, Lee. I know you guys know a lot more, way more about this than I do. Like I said, I've only been red pilled about 6 years, and I'm still researching stuff even to this day. So it's like I wouldn't have, like, forbidden information. She knows, she has a good deal of knowledge about what's going on too. But that's what I think. That's kind of like what my job is. Like, to help the smaller channels reach the bigger channels. I showed, I gave a shout out to Christiane and Forbidden Information on American Joe show, and because I just feel like that's where I can help out best is getting like in Trump Parody Guy. I can give those smaller channels a shout out, and people can go and check them out, and hopefully they stumble across a bigger channel like American Joe and you, Carl, to give the shout outs, to get those, the audience that these smaller YouTubers need in order to help get their message out. I don't know, it's a little silly the way I say it, but I mean, it's trying to do this from an organizational point of view. I mean, right. It's like right now.
You don't sound silly. You sound very much like you're talking from the heart. You don't sound silly to me. I can't speak for other people, but you don't sound silly to me at all.
I think
I really appreciate what you're doing.
I appreciate
thank you. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I mean, it's just like I said, I have the knowledge to understand, and I have the knowledge to research and understand, but I don't have the education to, how do I say, my thing is more street smart than book smart. I mean, I have some, like I said, I can research something and I can understand it, and I can understand where people come from when they tell me something and explain it, but I try to bring my more of a wit to this battle than than an educational point of view. Like I say, like the one-liners is what's helped me get so much recognition from just being all over the place. And sometimes I go into these chat rooms and they think I'm a troll, but then somebody highlights my name in red, and hey, the douchebag is one of our crowd, and I thank them for vouching for me, because the last thing I want is to be banned from a channel and not be able to give a shout out to somebody, you know what I mean? But I'm still. I know I say this a lot, but I'm still hoping. Yeah, what's up?
Sorry. I have a question about what you were talking about earlier, and what you bring up often, which is people like the Mercers and their interest in preserving our freedoms and our free market system and our republic and the things that they actually care about. Is in your investigation, have you come up with a way to get messages to people like that? I mean, say we come up with this awesome wicked bumper sticker like "Hands Off My Healthcare." I'm not saying it's the best, but it was pretty good. We come up with a thing like that. Who do we send it to? I mean, and because I have other ideas, billboards. We could do all kinds of cool trolling across the USA, and for the low information voters, and just keep it simple. And but how do we get in contact with people that can make it real? Is that part of your investigation? Do you have email addresses? Because I'll send.
No, I don't. I don't go into it that deep like other YouTubers do. I mean, I don't. I just because I really don't. I more like I just kind of do the research and try to put two and two together. The way I found out about the Mercers was I kind of followed not follow their money trail, but like I watched certain videos, right? And I've seen just different, like where they funded their money. Like Rebecca Mercer, from what I understand, is been labeled the first lady of the alt-right. Okay, well, a label like that, you can tell they're not part of the of the globalists, especially if they're being labeled the far right. Okay, well, I'm not crazy about the far right either, but sometimes it takes another kind of evil to fight another kind of evil. I mean, I know it's given the times we're living in, but that's always been about it is the lesser of two evils. But anyway, the Mercers have been known to, climate change deniers. They've been known to fund climate change deniers, and I believe some think tanks that associate with that as well, I think. But the thing that I can't figure out is what the Mercers are really actually, doing. I mean, it's hard to believe that somebody would do it just to protect people like us. You know what I'm saying? I can't say that it is or isn't, but, maybe their agenda has to do with nationalism and capitalism, free markets, us having our nation. And to me, that's good enough a reason, just those three reasons to get behind them. Because it's either that or you back what Soros and his globalist cabal are doing, and that spells trouble for our country. So it's, I don't know if that really answers your question, Ify. I'm sorry. I don't really.
No, it's fine. I appreciate it, and I appreciate it. I just think I had two suggestions. One, I would think people do what they do because they're like me. They're parents, and they care about the world that they leave behind for their kids. And number two, I suggest that maybe researching who the Mercers fund. I answered questions that other people had. They made a false assumption about who owned whom with regard to another discussion, and I explained to them, no, this is who owns that company and for how long, and got into all kinds of, it's pretty easy to look up corporate information because that stuff is public. When it's a public corporation, it's all available. So it's pretty easy to find out who the Mercers fund, and then through those organizations and groups, you might be able to find contact information. So that was my suggestion to you. If you're interested in continuing, because it seems to be a subject that you're interested in, you bring it up often. Maybe pursue it that way. Try to just research what they own rather, and who they fund, and through those smaller organizations, just like Soros, he has a foundation with hundreds of smaller. At this point, I think a couple of hundred. The last I heard. Smaller groups. You don't call George Soros, you don't email George Soros when you want something done, but you find one of his groups and you work with them and you get the funding through the group. So you could maybe pursue that and see what's available. And then we could fund my other idea, which is I think we should send a bunch of lunch trucks to the border so that when Rashida Tlaib has her hunger strike, we could do like they do at the movie theaters, when they make the popcorn and they put the fan on and blow the smell. And we could just blow the smell from like a couple dozen lunch trucks the whole time she's there trying to starve in front of the cameras and just troll her and whoever she tricks to go along with her.
I got a nice little comment. But we need the funds to do it. I got a nice little comment about her. It's got almost 500 likes, so it's like, it's because I look at it like this. If we got to make a stand. I mean, every day in and day out. Sometimes I hear people, well, I don't vote because nothing gets done. Yada yada. My vote don't count. Well, you know what? There was a time I used to think that way, but people change. People change, and people have to start understanding that if you want your way of life, if you want to continue to be able to go to work, spend time with your family, have a job, look forward to your retirement, then they got to jump in this fight. I used to be hesitant to jump in this fight, but, here I am right now, I mean, I just figured, my namesake is something they used to throw around at me, so I just figured, hey, I'll roll with it, But I mean, we all have something that we bring to this battle. A lot, most of it is, some of it's knowledge, some of it's humor, some of it is just an understanding, It's like last time when we talked about how we talk to people about, how we bring them over to our side. That's why I always say, start off a conversation with, hey, do you like to shoot? What kind of guns you like? Get a feel for how they think. Get a feel for where their political issues might be. And if they start talking about, well, yeah, I own a handgun or I like this kind of gun, you can tell right away. Well, I won't say you could tell right away, but you could start to understand that these people, at least maybe they're center left, but they also understand why people own guns, why people have, why we might even have a Second Amendment, you know, and that might get them to maybe come more to our side a little bit and to start understanding that it is the left. Well, I won't say it is the Democrats, it is the establishment, the rhinos that want to disarm us. It is the globalists that want to disarm us, you know. And all these red flag laws are based on, like we were talking about the other day, they're based on mental stability and whether or not you might, you know, commit suicide. You know, somebody. It's designed basically to. Someone is designed to basically, like, say, if you got neighbors who are liberal or neighbors who are, you know, they see you load up a gun or something, you know, they might freak out and call, and, you know, that's kind of the idea behind these red flag laws, you know. I mean, there's still a lot of research to do on them, but people have got to start educating themselves, especially if you're a gun owner. You got to find out what it takes to, you know, get your guns back if it happens to you, because it can happen to you. You know, when you least expect it. That's what these laws are designed for, is to get around the Second Amendment, to disarm people, basically, you know. But I don't know how long. Hopefully the NRA is on top of this. I'm starting to wonder, you know, because, you know, you would think that the NRA would be putting things out about the red flag laws.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, I think
it's like, how come they're not, like, you know, publicizing this stuff? I agree.
Yeah. Carl, do you think the NRA's been infiltrated with the left?
No, I don't think they're infiltrated. Look, I knew a lot of small gun owners, you know, gun store owners back in the 90s, back when Bill Clinton was president, and that idiot was Secretary of the Treasurer. I can't remember, former senator from Texas, Lloyd Benson. And basically, they were making it harder for small gun store owners to conduct business. And what they did, one of the regulations they put in place, was that you couldn't sell a gun that you didn't have in your inventory at the time. So in other words, before that, small gun store owners would be able to, you know, they have display weapons. You know, they say have 30 different display weapons. And they could sell, okay, well, a Glock Model 22, the one on the counter, well, you don't want the damn display weapon anyway. Everybody's been handling it and working the action. Why, you know, you don't want that one. So, and, you know, you generally have waiting periods in most states. So what the hell is the difference, whether it's sitting back in your safe or sitting in some big dealer's, you know, warehouse? So before he came with new regulations, you could sell the person the firearm. They would fill out the form. While the guy was there, they could call the vendor and actually get the serial number for the gun they were going to be shipping out, and fill the serial number in on the forms that had to go up to the state agencies. So they didn't have to keep hundreds of thousands of dollars in inventory in the back, or even tens of thousands, or even, you know, $20,000. It's a lot of money for a small business. So they could do it that way. Well, they didn't like this little small mom and pop stores, you know, and the big stores, chain stores, especially didn't like them. Well, the NRA gets their money from gun manufacturers and big chain stores. You know, they're getting money from mom and pop stores, except what, you know, $25 a month maybe. You know, these guys donate, you know, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. So they let that regulation go. They didn't publicize it. It was kept under the radar, and it went into effect. And then suddenly, a lot of these mom and pop stores who even read trade magazines didn't know about it, and they called over to try to get those serial numbers, and they said, sorry, we can't give you that. And they explained to them why. So ran a lot of small business, small mom and pop gun stores out of business. And that was the NRA's position. It was like, well, we're going to protect the people who donate the money to us, gun manufacturers and chain stores. So it's not infiltrated by anybody. It's always
In
been
the meantime,
infiltrated by
the chain stores get infiltrated by the SJW culture, and then they just voluntarily stop selling the guns anyway.
Yeah.
Which seems to keep happening.
Yeah, they'll stop selling them, and then of course you got Citibank saying we're not going to give those stores merchant accounts to run credit card transactions, and of course, you know, most people pay with credit cards; they don't pay with cash, so that depresses their sales immensely. Probably, if not half, probably more than half, and so it makes it impractical to be able to have a store where you sell firearms if you can't have a merchant account where people can pay you with a credit card.
Yeah, because now they're trying to get the banks. I think Wachovia said they were going to still lend to gun manufacturing companies, but they're trying to get, basically they're trying to put these gun companies out of business by denying them credit and denying them loans. And I'm like, you know, if these globalists are able to do this, then, you know, it just goes to show how deep, you know, this corruption goes. I mean, we probably don't even have an inkling as to how deep these globalists have their hands in this stuff, you know, in these companies and the influence they have. I mean, if they can get Patreon and PayPal to stop supporting conservative commentators, who knows what else they're able to do, you know, with these big businesses that
Tony,
manufacture guns.
any thoughts on that, Tony?
I'm just taking it all in. I didn't know the NRA was really that corrupt. Kind of disappointing to me. But
yeah, it's a wake-up call when you see it,
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
front and center, you know. And I was reading a lot of, you know, magazines and kind of like under-the-radar type magazines, you know, kind of, you know, real crazy stuff. But you read the real crazy stuff, and deep down in there, there's always something that's like, oh, I didn't know that, you know, and then you find this stuff. But you have to read kind of the kind of out there kind of stuff, just to kind of, I mean, don't take it all word for word, then you become crazy too. But they'll cover stories in there that other people aren't covering, and they're real stories, you know. So it's like, oh shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And they caught a lot of people, you know, put a lot of people out of business. Let's put it that way. And basically,
How long ago was that?
back in the 90s.
Oh.
It was when Bill Clinton was president. Lloyd Bentsen was Secretary of the Treasury, which at the time was in charge of Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. I think that's Homeland Security now. I'm not sure. But back then it was the Department of Treasury.
But
I do have
again,
another
if the NRA... You know,
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Carl.
No, go.
No, I was going to say, but then again, we need the NRA because who's going to... I mean, Gun Owners of America doesn't have the influence that the NRA has. So in the end, if we didn't have the NRA, who would lobby for gun manufacturers?
Oh, no.
You know?
I totally agree. I just you know, what's that saying? You know, forewarned is forearmed, if you will. You know, just know that the NRA isn't necessarily, you know, on the little guy's side. Now, we piggyback as to what they fight for, and they do come looking to us because even though they get lots of money from gun manufacturers, they still need the private contributions and stuff. And more importantly, they need the numbers. So when they go to lobby a member of Congress, they can say, well, I got 600,000 members. I have 6 million members. And, you know, it's like when, you know, AARP, American Association of Retired People, you know, they knock on a congressman's door. Well, they don't have to even knock. You know, that lobbyist shows up in, you know, at the House or the Senate. I mean, he's walking in. You know, oh, I'm the chief lobbyist for the, you know, retired people of America, which has like, I don't know how many millions of members. You know, whatever he, you know, if he wants a meeting, he gets a meeting. He picks up the phone, he's talking to the congressman or the senator directly. He's not talking to some staff member, at least not for very long, you know, and he's definitely going to call back, you know, and he has all these guys' cell phone numbers as well. So the NRA needs us for that. So, you know, they can't just say we have all this money. They say we have all these voters, and we have all these voters.
Was that law just in?
Go ahead.
Was that law just in one state? Was that your state, or
No,
was it
nationwide.
Across nation?
Yeah, the federal
So
law.
now, because there are a lot of small gun stores in my area. So you think the law's changed since then?
I don't think so. It's just that you just can't keep the inventory. Sometimes you end up selling the display. I mean, sometimes they just have to sell the display weapon. That's the one they have to sell. You know, unless they have buku bunny, you know, they can have 10 of each, you know, display weapon in the back, 5 or 10 of each display weapon in the back.
What's the premise for the reason? What do they say the reason is? It security? Just smaller stores can't protect the inventory or something? Well, actually, that's the opposite.
I'm trying to remember. I think their reasoning was that it was harder to. I think they actually came out and openly said it's just that there's too many of them, and it's too hard for it to keep track of all of them. I think they actually came out and just said that out loud. I don't think they try to hide
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So whatever the premise was, so they're saying basically they can't collect data. Well, we have the internet now, so yes, they can.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, this is the 90s. I mean, the 90s, that's AOL.
Right.
You know, you got mail. You know, that crap. Yeah. So, a little bit different now. A little bit different. But there's another story I want to cover. Let me just jump over to that real quick. Let's see. This is also from the Wall Street Journal. Okay, hold on. There we go. Yep. All right. And there's us. Up. Box fits a little bit better now. So anyway, here we go. Biden is expected to soon announce White House bid. Former Vice President Joe Biden is putting the finishing touches on the rollout of his presidential campaign and is expected to announce as soon as next week that he is joining the sprawling field of 2020 Democratic contenders. The 76-year-old former Delaware senator and two-time presidential candidate is expected to launch his campaign with a video as early as Wednesday, according to 3 people close to Mr. Biden. After releasing the video, he is expected to embark on a tour of early voting states and then hold a formal campaign kickoff, the people said. Advisors have discussed a possible launch event in Philadelphia, in the battleground state of Pennsylvania, probably a good idea, Mr. Biden's home state of Delaware, or potentially in Charlottesville, Virginia, where a gently white nationalist rally in 2017 galvanized the nation. He might have to do that because he is an old white man and he's running the Democratic primary. So he may have to just kind of put that out there. The story goes on to say, the people said the rollout plans, which were first reported by The Atlantic, haven't been finalized. Well, if you put together a video, it's, you know, hey, Mr. Biden plans to join the race, which has been expected will inject an experienced candidate who is well regarded by party loyalists after he served for 8 years as VP. And there you go. So let's just get off us out of here. Boom. So, anyway, any thoughts on Mr. Biden entering the race?
A collective yawn sweeps the chat.
Well, actually,
I think he has
I was
a
going to
shot.
say,
I would say.
yeah,
I'm just saying,
I'd say,
I think he has a shot.
yeah.
Go
Oh, I'm
ahead,
sorry.
Jay.
No, go ahead. I didn't want to interrupt. Go ahead.
That's all I'm saying. I think he actually has a shot.
Oh.
Like the more I think about it, being
Yeah,
vice
but
president.
the thing that I worry about with Biden is because he could attract, he could attract the centrist voters that voted for Trump in 2020. I don't know. I guess I want Trump to win 2020. I pray to God he does. But these radicals are going to try to eat Biden alive. They're gonna try and discredit him, whatever, because he's not far enough to the left. I mean, he's not really. I don't know if he would open our borders like Hillary Clinton would have. But the one thing that people have to understand, especially with the civil war going on in the Democrat Party, is that, and I know I've said this before, but these radicals are out of control. AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, who's to say, they're out of control, and these establishments can't get them under control. So how are they going to focus on their campaign when they've got these progressives slandering them? I mean, these 3 are going to go after Biden while he's on the campaign trail. I wouldn't be surprised if they ran ads against him to slander him. And so the Democrats have to find a way. These establishments have to find a way to get these 3 under control, because they're gonna destroy the party. I mean, not that that's not. I mean, I personally, I wouldn't mind the Democrats. Yeah, it would be. But if the establishment loses the Civil War, then the rhinos and the establishment Democrats would be at a disadvantage. And as much as I don't like them, it'll get worse under the progressives. But I think they're going to eat Biden alive.
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Paula, you haven't spoken much. Any thoughts on this, on Joe Biden running?
I'm just listening.
Well, I see you with your pillow
Um,
or blanket.
no, it's my blanket. It's cold here. Um, no,
Who's that kid again?
Biden. I don't know. I mean, on one hand, I think he's going to get the nomination, but on the other hand, maybe
Hey,
not.
Paula, do me a
You know,
favor. You got to get that kid out of that shot. There's all kinds of issues, so you really got to get that
Get
kid out of the camera.
Get down. Ava. Go. Okay, sorry.
That's okay. No problem. It's YouTube. You know how they are. So.
She can black her screen so she can still talk, Carl.
Yeah. Yeah, just push on the camera button. There you go. Well, I think she might have closed. There you go. No,
Like that?
no. Still see it.
Okay.
There's a little picture of a camera when you push up. You on a phone, Paula? You on a phone?
Uh-uh.
Yeah, on the phone, just push like by where your picture is. You'll see like little things come up, like a phone,
Yeah.
a camera. If you push on the camera, it'll go red, and then your screen is black. That's it.
Ah, there we go.
Perfect.
go.
There you go. All right, go ahead,
cool.
Paula.
Okay, no, honestly, I mean, with Biden, I don't think he'll beat Trump. I mean, I just don't think he will. I don't know. The left is so divided right now that I don't know where they're going to go. You know, I don't know if they're going to go with Biden or not. It seems like he's the top contender right now, but that could switch too. So, I don't know. Biden's got me kind of confused on that because the polls are just so crazy right now with all of them. And so, I don't know. I just don't have a lot of opinion on Biden right now. I'm just watching to see what they do.
Well, I think the Democrats are hungry for, well, not the far left. The far left does. I agree with douchebag. The far left doesn't want to have anything to do with this guy. I mean, he's old,
No.
he's white, he's a man. Even though he was always left his whole life, in comparison to everybody else, he's center left now. And that's the last thing they don't want to go back to that. I mean, that was the biggest problem they had with Trump. You know, let's be honest. They thought, oh, I thought we were done with these old white guys. You know, I thought we were done with them running the country. I thought we were done with them telling us what to do. And oh my God, they're back. Oh, geez. I mean, that is actually the biggest problem they have. Think about this since 2015, 2016. I mean, I literally just came up with my hypothesis, like today, is that the biggest problem they have, they thought, we're done with the old white men running this country. And sure enough, here comes the most obnoxiously whitest, orange, if you will, whitest guy that could possibly have gotten elected is this guy. I mean, Queens, New York, real brash, you know, the tie, the talk, you know, in your face, you know, any kind of potentially negative, over-the-top stereotype of an old white guy, Donald Trump embodies. Okay, so it's like, oh God, not only did we get a white guy again, we got the worst of the worst white guys. Unfortunately for them, he's doing a hell of a job running things. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, they can't talk about the numbers. Have you noticed nobody on the campaign is talking about the economy, except that we need to make it better. Well, okay, better compared to what? Better compared to the previous 8 years? Or how about the previous 16? Hell, the previous 22 years. I mean, what do you want to talk about? I mean, you know, if you compare it to just the last 2-3 administrations, his economy is doing better than all of them combined. I mean, these are real numbers. The manufacturing jobs are really coming back. You know, it's just not wealth on the West Coast. You know, Clinton had a lot of wealth on the West Coast being created. There was the internet boom, the whole 10 yards, a lot of overvalued companies. You know, George W. Bush, his economy just stagnated. I mean, wages were flat. Employment was like just whatever. Nothing was moving. Okay, and then President Obama, I mean, his economy was shit. I mean, it just went down the toilet fast. And, his second to last year, his annual GDP growth was 2.2%. His final year, 2016, his annual GDP growth was 1.5%. And he told us all, I saw the speech in real time, Americans just going to have to get used to not having GDP annual growth above 2.0% again. He said, we're going to have to get used to it. No, I tell you what.
The new normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we got a better idea.
I remember that.
Okay. Yeah, we got a better idea. We're not going to get used to your crap. Okay, we're going to elect somebody who's going to get us over 3% GDP annual growth every year, which he just did this last year, which, if you notice, wasn't covered very much. Okay? More than twice the annual GDP growth that President Obama did in his final year. So, tough shit.
Crickets from the mainstream media.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Of course.
I mean, there you go. So Biden got a real uphill battle, I agree, but, I think out of all the candidates, as far as being able to get independents, like right-leaning independents, left-leaning independents, I mean, like not too far left, not too far right, I think Biden has the best shot for those among any of the Democratic candidates that are in the field right now. I think he's got the best shot. And and I think a lot of big donors probably know that.
Yeah, economically reasonable people that are still in the Democrats, the most reasonable economic ones are going to vote for him. He's got the biggest coalition. But remember, it doesn't matter, because as much as they're claiming how they want the popular vote in the national election, yeah, right, they're claiming they want that. They don't. That's not how they operate in their primaries.
No.
Their primaries is all about what do they call the superdelegates?
Right.
And getting together in a hotel room and selecting who they want. And I watched an online group that were pro-Hillary, following the primaries, and they were getting angrier and angrier because they kept saying, she's winning these states. Why aren't they letting her have these states when she first ran against Obama? And it was because she was not selected. That's how they operate. So if Biden is the one, selected one, and I think there's some maybe thin but still evidence that he is indeed the selected one. First of all, Pelosi has already come out and said disparaging things about the 3 or 4 or 5 far leftists that are making all the waves in the press.
Sure did.
And I think she's sending we'll take phraseology from the left, a dog whistle to the press to shut the F up about these people. They're not the darlings. We don't want you talking about them that much, We're giving them a little bit of leeway because we want to get the youth vote. But to be honest, they're stupid. And they're not going to be guiding the party while I'm still the head bee in charge. So that's what she said, basically. Who are they? Like, there's only 5 of them. That's what she said. So she said another thing. Talise said it, I believe, that AOC would have won her district if she was a glass of water with a D on it.
Yeah.
So
that was pretty.
Yeah. So
it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was pretty damn. Yeah. So she's got the snark. But the point being, they don't like that side. The corporate Democrats who are in charge are in charge. As much as the other ones get to make the splashy headlines and everybody thinks they have so much power, they don't have any power. Not one person voted for the Green New Deal. They have zero power. They have negative power. They're just fun to watch, and that's it. They are a dog and pony show for the Democrats to put up and say, look, we're hip with the youth. Because all the rest of them are over 75, so they're trying to just use them to keep the youth vote that they still have.
Yeah.
So that's all it is. And they select. And the other thin evidence I have that they've selected Biden is the fact that he waited this long to get in. He waited this long, and we were talking about he's going to be in a year ago. He waited this long so that he wouldn't have to directly confront any of these stupid whippersnappers and deal with their stupid mean tweets and their ranting and nonsense. So he kept out as long as he possibly could, amassed money. I'm sure he got lots of donations. I'm sure they broke a lot of campaign finance laws, but hey, they're Democrats, so nobody cares. and now he's officially in. So, yeah, and he could say things and do things because he wasn't in. He could go and do interviews, he could make speeches, he could do all kinds of things without being scrutinized for how much airtime he gets, because there's laws about that too.
Right.
You know, when you're a candidate,
yeah.
You're only allowed to be on TV, right, for a certain amount of time, but you're not officially the candidate. You can yak your head off and talk about whatever you want to talk about for as long as they let you, and they will let it. So, yeah, he played it really cool, and he isn't going to do that. And, you know, this whole, he said, here's my third point of thin evidence, but I think it all adds up to a picture, is that he said he's waiting to hear back. He had feelers out. He said something to that effect. He was waiting to find out. Basically, he was waiting to find out if the right people were going to make sure he got elected. So, yeah, I think he's a shoo-in if he survives, if he doesn't have a stroke or something, because he's old too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How old is he?
Go ahead, Paula.
I was just asking how old he really was.
77, I think.
Yeah.
I
No,
believe
that's
that's right.
Bernie.
Yeah.
Biden is 70. I think he's a year younger than Bernie. Bernie's 77 and Biden's 76. Is that right?
Yeah, I think.
But
I
he's
don't
pretty
think
old.
Bernie's going to make it out of the primary. Yeah.
I don't think Bernie cares to make it out of the primary.
Yeah, I don't think so either, because he's not
He's got
campaigning
his
as hard
money.
as he was in 20. Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
think he's
to
in
your
there
point,
to cause
Effie, it's
havoc.
like, I think part of the reason why he waited, because he wasn't like sitting back waiting, I think he was trying to get those. Remember, he said, "I'm only going to run if I know I can win." I think he was racking up those super delegates. I think he had a lot of people talking to the super delegates to see about if they were going to, willing to commit to him, and say they'd give him their vote. So even if it ended up in a close race, going down the wire, he could count on those super delegates to push him over the top. So I'm pretty sure he's been courting those guys. And, super delegates, the reason why they created super delegates was to make sure that some crazy, like, say, if AOC was 35, some crazy AOC or Buttigieg couldn't necessarily win the nomination. That the leaders, the elders, the people in charge would make sure that you had a good nominee, a good solid nominee, that even if some guy caught fire and the masses were like, yay, the superdelegates could step in and try to undo what would be like a McGovern disaster in 72.
Mm-hmm.
So they were there to make sure that that was protected. So, but
now the Republic. Oh, I'm sorry, Carl. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go, man. Hey.
Now the Republicans are going to try and run somebody against Trump. I forget who the guy's name was, but this is how desperate these establishments want him out of there.
Governor Weld,
and I'll tell you,
Massachusetts. Former Governor Weld of Massachusetts. Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, if any independent wants to vote in the primary and they're going to vote for Trump, you might as well switch your party to Republican so you can vote in the primary, because I don't want another Republican president in there. I don't want another Democrat president. I want Trump to be reelected in 2020. And I think, there's a very, very good chance that he could get reelected in 2020. All these numbers that they run, like, they want to give the electoral, all these Democrat-controlled states, well, let's pass off our electoral college to those who win the popular state. Let's lower the voting age to 2016. All of this is based on numbers the Democrats are running on the chances of Trump winning, on the possibility, they're running numbers to see what Trump's chances are to win 2020. And judging by the way these Democrats are acting and passing laws, I'd say it's a real damn good chance that Trump could win a re-election in 2020.
Yeah, I think Newt Gingrich said he had a 55% chance of winning, which Newt's not going to come out and say, 80% chance. No. And plus, he doesn't want people to get complacent. Let's be honest. If we get complacent again, you don't have to go back to Dewey defeats Truman. You can just go back to 1988. Dukakis head by 17 points, supposed to win against H.W. Bush, and then boom, here comes H.W. Bush winning by 4. Hell, go back 3 years ago, Trump was supposed to lose.
Mm-hmm.
New York Times said 89% chance Hillary was going to win, 90% chance she was going to win. Other newspapers around the same numbers. they're all sitting there at the roundtable discussions. We've all seen those YouTube videos: ABC, MSNBC, CNN, CBS. The best one, of course. Sorry, Cenk Uygur's site, Young Turks. That's the best meltdown.
Young Turks, yeah.
Yeah, that I can watch. Every time I watch that, I still laugh, and I've seen it like 3 times.
Yeah, me too.
But
So
it don't go very far.
It's
yeah,
great.
It's hilarious.
It's conserva porn.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, it starts out talking about, my daughter asked me today, Daddy, are we going to have the first woman president tonight? And I said, yes, dear, we are. And and they're all talking, and they're all like, But the worst one was the one from, it was, I want to say NBC, not MSNBC, but the NBC News coverage. And they had, their esteemed people, they're not MSNBC, it's a little more dignified and stuff. And they're sitting there saying, oh, we'll be done, looking at their watches. Oh, we'll be done in a couple hours, 8 o'clock Eastern at the latest, 8:30 maybe. Maybe they'll let it go to 8:30 Eastern, And literally, I've seen this. It was like crazy. So again, a lot of the Clinton people got complacent. Maybe some of them even stayed home. Maybe they did. Maybe some of them stayed home in Michigan, in Ohio, in Pennsylvania, in Wisconsin, in North Carolina. They said, oh, we got this. Oh, it's in the bag. Oh, I don't have to vote. They look at the mainstream media. Oh, they're going to win going away. She's going to get 350 electoral votes, 400 electoral. Whatever the number was. It was some crazy number they were saying. So I don't have to vote because she's got it. I don't have to waste my time.
Yeah.
So we can't be like that. Okay, that's how you lose. That's how you're sitting there with that dumb look on your face, like the Clinton supporters at the Gravitt Center in New York, going, "Huh?" And then to Effie's point earlier, then you will see men cry. Okay, probably at least me. Like, no, well, I won't cry. I'll be yelling and screaming. I'll be like, ah. So anyway, we all gotta get out and vote. Let's keep doing it. Let's keep working it. Like into douchebag's point. Let's keep supporting each other. Let's keep getting our names out there. I put Disabled Vets link in my description box. I put Tony Patriot's link in my description box. So let's keep keep it going. And the more of our messages get out on different platforms, Tony's site.
Yeah.
Tony's talking over there. Some people are watching Tony. I'm talking over here. Some people are watching me. Lee's over there. Da 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 da, et cetera. Forbidden information, et cetera. And the more people are hearing from different sources, they're saying, oh, because the mainstream media does that. They just inundate them. They make them think, oh, everybody thinks like this, and if you don't, you're by yourself, and you're crazy. Literally. Well, more sites like ours shows, no, you're not. Okay? We're all in this. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the panel for tonight.
Oh, okay.
And douchebag, final words?
I just wanted to say, American Joe's here, and we got to get, Carl, we got to get him on to your show. He's a really great guy, has great information, he's a true patriot, really awesome guy.
Yeah.
I don't know
I've seen some of his shows. We tried to get that going a couple of different times, and it was just scheduling for both of us. He's real busy too.
Yeah.
So it's just trying to get it scheduled right. Sometimes his shows are on at the same time my shows are on. So it was just kind of tough to getting it all scheduled. But I'll keep trying, for my part. I'll definitely keep trying, without a doubt.
I just want to say, everybody, don't give up hope. I'm gonna go into live chats and throw out super chats. I'll find different ways to word them, because every time I try to throw one out, YouTube says, edit and try again. Well, you know what? I will try again, and I will keep doing it until that super chat goes through. To get people to come over to American Joe, Paul's Opinion, Tony Patriot. Like I said, I'm hoping Total Eclipse does a live show, and I can, because again, he likes my one-liners, and maybe I can get him to get you guys a shout out. If I can get back on JB Gunner's in his chat, I can send him a super chat. Hopefully, he gives you guys another shout out, because he's got a pretty good base.
Yeah.
But just keep the faith. Tough times do not last. Tough people do. I know I say that all the time, but
I still love it every time I hear you say it. So there you go. All right, Paula, final words?
I just want to say, let's just keep sticking together. We need to keep an eye out on those things they're trying to sneak in behind everything. They're trying to, when they throw up all the distractions, just pay attention to what else is going on, because that's usually when they're trying to sneak stuff up on us. And we need to really be vigilant on those things, like the red flag laws and things like that they're sneaking up in behind. So just keep your eyes open on that. Everybody, inform other people when you see this going on via Twitter, YouTube, whatever it is. So.
Good word.
Definitely.
And Effie, final words?
Now, I had a thought, but it flew away because I saw something fly by my head and it kind of scared me.
Literally
I'm
flew away.
inundated.
There you go.
It's Florida. But yeah, I have having a weird day. Maybe I'll put out and the video that you deleted, Carl, that we did a couple of nights ago, the secret video. Now it's the secret archived video.
Yeah.
I was talking about how I have a secret channel, so then the secret video is evidence of the secret channel. But that's a completely different sort of channel where I talk about health things, and it's under, you'll never find it. But I did make a joke in the chat room the other night that if I get 50 subscribers, mind you, I have no videos on this channel, so nothing. If I get 50 subscribers, I'll make videos. And I just thought, and when I said that in the chat room the other day, I realized I have a lot of ideas for videos. I want to do videos. So I promise, guys, if I get a few subscribers from y'all, I will put out some ideas. I have some ideas that might be entertaining for us. So
fantastic.
That's all I wanted to say.
I'll subscribe after the show. I'll subscribe.
Okay. Tony, final words.
I'll subscribe too. I want to agree with Douchebag and Paula. We all do definitely need to stick together. And I want to thank Douchebag, man, because he's really helped push my channel out, helping Lee, helping Forbidden Information, and I completely am on board with him. I mean, it's the way we do it. We get our channels bigger, and then I'll help. Then maybe I can help some other people grow. And I want to thank you. I want to thank you, Carl, for having me on, giving me a chance to speak, and gives me a chance to spread the message and just thank you guys. We do need to stick together and and stand together and fight for our country. Not let these leftist maniacs take over and ruin everything that people have fought and died for.
Exactly.
That's my final words. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
All right, I will give the final word. I just want to thank everybody who's been on the panel tonight. The great Douchebag, Paula, Effie, Tony, Lee, who was on earlier. And just thanks to everybody in the chat. Thanks to everybody who will be viewing this video later. And I just want to say, for Carl's opinion, this is Carl. Have a great night. And guys, just hang for a second while I close down the stream. All right, guys.
Thanks,
have a good
Carl.
night. Bye-bye.